Hey everyone, it's Raphael here, and I'm going to show you how to write a Python program that takes in simple command line arguments. Now for this video, I'm going to be using idle, but if you want to use any other program like this particular IDE comes to mind, it's called PyCharm, you can use that as well. Or if you have a simple text editor that you want to use, you can also use that. It really doesn't matter as long as you can save it as a .py file where you can execute that Python program in your command line. So let's actually just go ahead and start writing the program by creating a whole new file. So in idle, I'm gonna click File, New File. And now before we can actually write the program though, we have to import, let me make this a little bit bigger. We have to import the necessary modules. So since this is taking in command line arguments, we're gonna import the Sys module right here. And then what I'm gonna do is check now. Well, before we do that, actually, let's add in the list value, so sys.argv right here. And now we have to check if command line arguments have been passed. So we can do this with a simple if statement. And we're going to set that to greater than 1. And I'll explain why it is set to greater than 1. Because the reason is that if we don't pass it any arguments, this list value is simply set to 1. So basically with this, the program knows for sure that if the value is greater than 1, like the len function, we can pass that list value to the len function, right? So we can it can check basically if it's greater than 1, it will know for certain that command line arguments have been passed. And I will demonstrate that in a minute. But let's go ahead and finish this. So it's going to join this empty string together. So join sys.argv, and I'll explain the number 1 again for this. Basically, if I were to go ahead and demonstrate right here, so this part you do not have to type in. It's simply me kind of demonstrating what this if statement means. So let's say, for example, I called my program run command line.py. That's simply going to be the Python program, right? Then let's say I said something like this. This is a test sentence, for example. So I can run something like that. Well, it'll be something like this, actually. Python3 command line.py, which is the name of your file, whatever you called your file. Then you type in the arguments. Let's say this is a test sentence. What it's going to do is take in everything from index 1. So it will take everything from here, and it will leave this one out. It will leave this command line.py out, since we only want the sentence to be, but basically like we only want that to be printed. Now the reason why we're leaving this second like on the other side of the colon, we're leaving the other side blank, is because it's basically we want everything on the other side to be printed. We don't want this to be printed, but we want everything after index 1 to be printed out. So you do not have to type that in. I simply am only demonstrating that as to how it's going to work. But that's basically how the logic goes, all right? And so we're going to save that to, let's see, we can call this whatever we want. So just do test. It doesn't really matter what you call that. Now the last thing we're going to do is print that. So print test. And then we can simply go ahead and save the file. So I'm going to go ahead and save it in this folder right here, tutorial for video command line. I'm going to run it over here in my MacBook Pro's terminal, so this is the folder name. If I'm going to go ahead and list it, so far it's empty, so I'm going to go ahead and save it right now. Let's call it testfile.py. So if I'm going to go ahead and list that, you can see that now it pops up the file, implies that we saved it successfully. So let's go ahead and start Python3 testfile.py. This is a simple sentence. And there you go. It takes in whatever you want to type. So if I want to type in another thing, let's see, blah, blah, 2. It kind of does the same thing. So let me go in and kind of edit the file a little bit. And if I were to, now here's an example. So if I were to change this to, let's do number 2, for example, you do not have to do this. I'm simply going to show you like how it works if I were to change it to that. If I were to do, let's see, Python3 testfile.py, this is a simple sentence. You can kind of see that the sentence is cut off. It leaves off the first index. So it goes simply to say is a simple sentence. It's not really the complete sentence. And that is the reason why we set that to number 1, because it takes in the first word plus everything else that comes right after it. If we set that to number 2, it sets it to the second word and everything right after, but it leaves the first word out. So that is why if you want to take in command line arguments like this, well, you want to set that to number 1. So thank you very much for watching. That is simply how you do it. And if you have any extra questions, just comment down below. But I will see you in the next video. Raphael out.